Hey, I have a question.
Hey, Martina.
Hey, Ashley girl. Good job. You got to see
Thank you.
Insecure though. It's so good. But because of how the screen share was set up, I wasn't able to see like all the makers and
Uh-huh.
the list of your services. So like, is there any way we can get that slide or access to that information?
Yeah, so our Creative Mornings team has that. They'll be happy to send that out. And you
Okay.
can visit us on our website, blacksoilky.com. We do not have, per se, a list on that website because our farmers have trusted us to facilitate the ordering. So if you go onto the shop page, you can put in an order for some produce. We just sold out of our July enrollment for our weekly farm share program. So I know we've got some folks on the call here who are participating in that, and I look forward to seeing them soon. Um, and so, really, if there aren't any questions, I would love to just talk. Okay, want to hear your thoughts on ending the food desert in the East End. Can't be unmuted, but would love to know your thoughts. There are pockets actually across the city, and I know right now in the East End of Lexington, the one market on East Third and Race has been closed. And so when it comes to like going into communities and doing food justice work, relationship should always precede that. And I believe in the past there have been attempts to provide fresh food in that area, but unfortunately, the larger community engagement, that community based intervention was lacking. And so, until we can get that type of infrastructure that supports the legacy residents of the East End to empower them to want to lead and be a part of that, we will then continue to have folks helicoptering in to say, this is what you need. So, we're going to be looking for stakeholders who want to help perpetuate food access in the East End, but it has to be done the right way. Because again, if we were doing this work 5 6 years ago and it was good work that was sustained from the very beginning, it would still be going on. And so we've made there have been mistakes that have been made along the way. So first correcting those mistakes, building relationships, identifying the existing assets, who can you already link up with to help break down the inaccessibility of fresh food in that area. But we'd love to connect with partners who are wanting to help activate some change there.
I don't know if Tanya's able to be unmuted. She had a question, unless you just want her to, there she is.
Hello. Ashley, I wanted you to talk a little bit about how you all have pivoted during COVID-19, because what you and Trevor have accomplished has been just incredible. And as someone who receives shares from one of your farmers, my children have benefited greatly from your work, and my community, I live in the East End, has benefited greatly from your work. So I'd love to talk for you to talk about how you've shifted during COVID.
Mm-hmm. So, and Brittany, I'm going to answer your question when I answer Tanya's question. So, how we have pivoted. We were obviously a very heavy in-person event-based company. So, we had applied for a grant through the Fayette County Conservation District that enabled us to deliver nearly 70 seed starter kits to youth and families across the county, right as COVID-19 was starting to hit. And so we've been able to provide self-sufficiency within households to teach families how to grow their own food. In addition to our weekly farm shares, we were granted a micro grant by the Lee Initiative to help support 10 local families over the next 18 weeks or 18-week span who receive services from a local doula, the Floating Lotus doula service, owned and operated by Tiffany Elamine, who also is a farmer in Madison County, now owner of Alfalfa. So we're uplifting very specific families. So these are mothers who are expectant, postpartum, single parent led households to ensure food access. In addition to that, we've pivoted to sourcing. So we have been uplifted by the Lee Initiative yet again to help source 5 restaurants, three in Louisville, FOCO, 4 Pegs, and Pints and Union. The Wrigley Tap Room located in Corbin, and Great Bagel here in Lexington, in addition to sourcing alfalfa. Ways that folks can support us. We are actively raising funds. We have received, most recently on Juneteenth, we spent that entire day investing $15,000 into very specific operations to help folks get infrastructure. So that's laptops, home printers, Wi-Fi service, hotspots, and 90% of the businesses in which received that equipment have been using old tools. So now we want to be able to see since your infrastructure has received improvements, then what can you do? So we are going through the community blessing nonprofits who service socially and financially vulnerable communities. That being, most recently, we provided 50 meals to Greenhouse 17. We are on the mission to help support Step by Step, Ampersand Sexual Violence Resource Center, Arbor Youth Services, as well as Community Action Council. So with all of that being said, we are just continuing to uplift. Every donation that we receive goes back into the community. We've been able to hire on 4 staff members. And so we're very, very passionate about creating workforce development around agriculture. And most recently, as I said it before, we've been talking to a lot of folks for 3 years, and a lot of people have not been listening. They've been ignoring, they have been dismissing, and we finally have the leverage, and we're leveraging this moment. And so Community Farm Alliance has recently released some information for the Kentucky Black Farmer Fund. This fund is groundbreaking. This fund is a game changer because I now have a white-led organization backing me in a financial way, in which me as an individual going into a lot of these meetings, I couldn't garner the benefit of the doubt. And so now, again, I didn't lie in insecurity. I went and I activated the troops and said, because of what you have going on, because of your mission to serve farmers across the state, we will uplift and we will work together. So applications for that fund are due July 10th. And we're going to be looking to organizations in our business community to help invest in this fund. If you've been looking, if you've not wanted to give to Black Soil directly, we now have external ways for you to support that. So that's Community Farm Alliance. They are an advocacy policy nonprofit based in Berea. They are statewide, and they have already granted 73 grants in southeastern Kentucky. And so in addition to that, we're now going to be having this sustained fund. And I'm talking about power, honey, okay? So those are some of the ways you can support us. You can continue providing donations. You can set up a meeting with us and hear about the work that we're doing to advance the infrastructure for, so many beautiful faces, so many beautiful names I'm seeing. They're scrolling through the attendees, and I'm so thankful that you have decided to spend your morning with me. I am so blown away. Thank you so much. Thank you. And so that's how we can move forward with your assistance, and know that, again, we've done this with no money for 3 years now. But when I look at cashing in the trust and the relationships, I am set for life. And so this work has taught me how to shift what I value and shift how we define success. And so we've been made doer for a night, and now the joy is coming, and it's time to cash it in and apply it to helping people who have been here all along. They've been here all along. And we're just here to center and honor and be of service. So.
And Ashley, we'll do this as our last question, but there was another one about, this is a heavy one, but can you talk about community gatekeepers and how that's detrimental to the Black-owned businesses and how you have begun to overcome these gatekeepers?
Thank you, Tanya. Gatekeepers. I think more than anything, the gatekeepers have served as the motivation. Because again, if you ever feel someone's going to stop you, or if you ever feel the underestimation, you got to turn that into your fuel. Because again, time and time again, I cannot stress to you I was literally laughed out of a college when we first started this. They couldn't, they were like, there ain't no way. So the gatekeepers have to be positioned to serve as reminders for the power in which you have inside of you. Because for every no, we went around it. And for every no, we find a strategic partner to help us then loop back around, go back in that door you said no to me about. And so in this moment where so many people are realizing their own participation as gatekeepers, here's some tips. Apologize, recognize and apologize the detriment in which your no has had to communities that you can't even see the ripple effect. 2, get deep down into that budget and align the missions, the values, the axioms in which you desperately want in your social optics. They have to be backed up by your actions, because that moral validation of, I believe in this work of these people who have been overlooked, marginalized. Again, we've been here. And so for anyone who's experiencing gatekeepers, you first have to study that gatekeeper. Learn their weaknesses, learn what they're lacking, and then go back in there. Even if you have to have reinforcements, and showcase how you have identified a solution to fill that gap. Because there's a lot of gaps right now in the business community in Lexington. We don't have enough farmers. We don't have enough restaurants per se. And when you think about the small businesses, and we ourselves are a small business. We are designated as an LLC, but we have a charitable fund because folks want to have a tax deductible contribution. But we decided to not give in to gatekeepers who really wanted us to be a nonprofit when we first started. And I had been able to harness that power of my own equity. We aren't mourning nonprofits being burned to the ground in Tulsa. We are mourning the foundation of ownership and equity. And the gatekeeper cannot own you. The gatekeeper is there, they are positioned. So, like I said, 2 things. If you have been perpetuating detrimental gatekeeping, please stop. Now is the time to open up the coffers and say, we've been sitting on a lot of resources and a lot of assets, and the redistribution of power is the only way we're going to make it out of it. And the hoarding of power is an insecurity, a time-tested insecurity. When you hoard and you hold on to things, you're not trusting. But when you open up and you release and you make room for others, because again, I'm going to go back to agriculture. Until we recognize the roots that have been stomped out, the tree, the crop's not going to flourish. And gatekeepers are root stompers, or they think they are, but their feet aren't stronger than the determination in which people who have systematically and institutionally over centuries been oppressed to say, we're going to give up. So if you're experiencing gatekeeping, don't give up. Keep trying, find the solutions, work around it. If you are actively gatekeeping, repent. Be done with it. There is no time to hold on to the insanity cycle, because we keep wanting to have a different result. Well, I keep gatekeeping people, but why don't they trust my organization? Well, I keep overlooking people for promotions or improvements for their quality of life. Why don't we have a relationship? So I think more than anything, the time is now to step forth. The time is now to wreak havoc and radically disrupt in your own way. I do it the way in which I harness my power the best. You have the way in which you will address your gatekeepers, you will address your insecurities, you will customize, and you will come out on the other side, again, studying your opponent, emphasizing the awareness, and moving forth on your path.